Hey everyone, it's Shane from Swan Revelations. Today we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive when it comes to Jesus being tempted in a desert region, a desert place. We know the story, but I'm gonna share some thoughts that perhaps you didn't see before, or perhaps you didn't think about this. So we're going to dive into Matthew chapter 4. And this is, where are we going here? It's only a few verses, just a few verses. So let's just read from Matthew chapter 4. Then Jesus, led up of the Spirit, into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple. And we're going to come back to this. So we see here the devil, what looks like he is physically taking Jesus to a pinnacle of the temple. And I'm going to pose an argument that perhaps, just perhaps, there's something else going on here. That in fact, the devil did not take him physically to the temple. But we're going to come back to this, so hold that thought. The devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple. So right away we see here that it looks like the devil snatched Jesus Christ with all his power and brought him to Jerusalem and put him on the pinnacle of the temple. And remember, it says into the holy city. Saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus said, It is written again, that thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain. So now we see the devil again, which looks like physically taking him to an exceeding high mountain, and sheweth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto them, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then said Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. So we see Jesus being tempted by the devil to turn stones into bread. Then we see the devil taking him to the holy city, and then an exceeding high mountain. Remember those three things. Now we're going to go over to Mark. Something interesting is going on here, folks. I never caught this before. Look at this. So we have Matthew 4, basically the same chapter. And now we have Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4. So we have Matthew chapter 4, and now we have Mark chapter 4. Let's see here. Is it Mark? Let me see. Wait. actually Luke. One sec. I think it's Luke. I thought it was Mark. I think it's actually Luke. My bad. It's Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4. So you got Matthew chapter 4. And you have Luke chapter 4. And Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, returned from the Jordan, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, being 40 days tempted of the devil. So now we see that he's tempted of the devil 40 days, which is interesting. And in those days he did eat nothing, and when they were ended, he afterward hungered. And the devil said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread. No difference so far. Same thing as is in Matthew chapter 4. And Jesus answered, saying, It is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Verse 5, and the devil taking him up into a high mountain. This is a little bit different than Matthew, because Matthew says that the devil took him to the holy city and took him to a high place, to the pinnacle of the temple. And here we see after bread in Luke that the devil took him up to a high mountain, shewed unto him all kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. Weird, right? In a moment of time. I'm going to come back to this. The devil said unto him, All this power will I give thee. What power? Well, I just said, look at this. Look what I'm doing right now. I am showing you something in a moment of time. I'm showing you all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. I'm showing you everything into the future. Everything. And the devil said, All this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. If thou therefore wilt worship me, all shall be thine. So here's a bit of the theory. What happens if part of this giving this power to someone is I could show you what's going to happen in the future so that you could be profitable. You could make a lot of money off of this. All you have to do is worship me. Why? Because he showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, All this power I will give thee. What? Well, I could show you the future because this is given to me. When? Back in the Garden of Eden. Remember, when Adam and Eve took of the forbidden fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, the devil said, You shall not surely die. Remember the conversation with Eve. The devil said, Yea, did God really say? And Eve said, Yeah, we can eat from all these trees here, but not this tree. We can't even touch it. We can't even look at it. We will, otherwise we'll die. And the devil said, You will not surely die. So then Eve looked at it and went, Wow, this is really pleasing to have knowledge and all this kind of stuff and wisdom. And she desired it. So she took it, and her husband was there with her, which is interesting. There with her at the same time. She handed the fruit to Adam, and he partook of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil with her. And then they realized they were naked. Naked in time. Exposed, if you will. Why? Because then later we see that Adam and Eve heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden. And the first thing that God says is, Adam, where art thou. And I used to think, well, that's kind of an interesting thing for an all-knowing God to say, because don't you know where Adam and Eve are? And I believe he did. I believe this was a bit of a rhetorical question with a little bit of a spin on it. Meaning, where are you in time? Where are you in time? And Adam said, I was naked, therefore I hid. And God said, who told you that you were naked? Basically, who told you that you were exposed now? Did you take of the tree which I told you not to take of? And Adam blamed it. We know the rest of the story, but it's interesting that God says, Adam, where are you? You can use that in the context of time. Where are you in time? Where are you? Again, the devil's telling Jesus, I can give you this power to look into the future. Because remember, Jesus came to earth as a man, and he's tempting him that you can now have access to all time and understand what's going on here if you bow and worship me. So the devil said unto him, verse 6, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. So I can give this power to know what's going to happen in the future to whoever I give it. If thou therefore will worship me, all shall be thine. And Jesus answered and said unto him, get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. And then he brought him unto Jerusalem, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from thence. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou shalt dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus answered and said unto him, it is said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed him for a season. Interesting, right? Lots of stuff going on here. Lots of stuff going on. So, one of my theories is, I believe that up until that time, the devil had a concept of future events. Maybe not perhaps fully, but I think what happened when Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose again on the third day, that he actually took over that realm as well. Remember, he tells his disciples, no man knows the day or the hour, which is interesting, right? It's almost like you don't know the time. No one knows the time, but only the Father. And here's the devil telling Jesus that he can tell. Basically, I can give you the power. I can give you this power to tell, to go into the future and tell what's going on. And this will make you very successful, very wealthy here. And I can give it to whoever I want. Meaning, he's probably dishing it out to certain people here on earth. Certain pockets of people. They get access to this. Do they know everything? No, they don't know everything that's going to happen. But you have to understand that outside of time, if these angels, including the cherubim, and including Lucifer, is outside of time, that is a power that the devil is trying to give to people if they will worship him. And all of a sudden you see these certain people that are like, how did they invent this thing out of thin air? Like all of a sudden they have an invention and they're a multi-millionaire almost overnight. And when you look at it, it seems so obvious. Like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Well, there's probably some strings attached to some of that. I'm not saying every invention is evil. My point in all this is, it's interesting that in Matthew, it's basically, it's flipped. So we see the temple first, and then we see the mountain, and then in Luke, it's actually, we see the mountain first, and then the temple. It's like flipped. Interesting, right? Anyways, hope this makes you think. Hope you got something out of this. If you want me to go deeper, I can go a little bit deeper. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to share. Let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye for now.